On December 28, 2017, Andrew Finch walked out on his front porch and was shot dead. 4 men could justifiably be considered his murderer. 1 man was out for revenge. 1 man was paid to incite violence. 1 man directed that violence to Andrew's doorstep. And 1 man pulled the trigger. So we here at Beyond Crime have a question for you. Who exactly was responsible for Andrew Finch's death? We'll outline the case for you, and then you tell us who you think should go down for the crime. Spoiler alert, even though they could all be considered the cause, only 1 of the 4 men was ever charged with Andrew's death. People are killed for lots of reasons. Greed, jealousy, rage, and revenge all come to mind. But sometimes people are killed for really, really stupid reasons. Like really stupid. On December 28, 2017, 18-year-old Casey Viner and 19-year-old Shane Gaskill were playing Call of Duty on a site that let players wager cash. They were on the same team, but when Gaskill killed his partner's avatar by accident, the two lost their wager and got into a heated argument. The argument culminated in Viner threatening to swat Gaskill. Quick timeout for those who don't know. Swatting is a practice where internet trolls call the police with a fake emergency, often a bomb threat or hostage situation. Per protocol, police or SWAT teams respond with a show of force, showing up at the home of the unsuspecting swatting victim. Swatting often results in hilarious hijinks, like people being shot in the face with rubber bullets, or 10-year-olds opening the door and getting loaded pistols shoved in their face.
They could have been shot. They could have died. Because you chose to swat my stream.
So when Viner threatened to swat his fellow Call of Duty player, both of them probably had a sense of what exactly that could entail. Certainly, Gaskill took the threat seriously, because even though he invited Viner to bring it on, he didn't give Viner his current address. Instead, Gaskill gave his old address and told Viner that he'd be waiting. Viner got in touch with a known swatter who went by the handle Swatistic. Swatistic's real name was Tyler Barris, a 25-year-old who swatted events very often, sometimes for fun and sometimes because people like Viner paid him to. Barris charged $10 to $50 for swattings, but he also specialized in bomb threats. Barris began to stalk Gaskill online to get a sense of his intended victim. Gaskill, seeing Swatistic's name, guessed what he was up to and taunted Barris to go ahead and try some shit. He gave Barris the same address he had given Viner, the address of an old house. Now that Tyler Barris had been personally insulted by Gaskill, he decided to carry out the swatting free of charge. He called the police and faked a hostage situation, drawing a deadly police force to the home of an innocent man.
Hello?
This is 911. What's going on?
I'm just pointing the gun at them, making sure they stay in the closet. My mom and my little brother.
Okay, is there any way you can put the gun up?
No. Are you guys sending someone over here? Because then I'm definitely not going to put it away.
While Barris stayed on the line, police surrounded the house on West McCormick Street. Before they could speak through their bullhorn and try to make contact with the people inside the house, the front door opened and the homeowner, Andrew Finch, stepped outside.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, because I already poured gasoline all over the house. I might just set it on fire.
Okay, well, we don't need to do that, okay?
In a little bit, I might.
Why would you do that?
Do you have my address correct?
Can you verify it for me again?
It's 1033 West McCormick Street. My zip code is 67213.
Police dispatch was still on the phone with the man who supposedly had a gun. Andrew Finch had neither a gun nor a phone in his hands. Confused by the lights and sounds coming at him from all sides, Andrew Finch raised and lowered his hands as he tried to figure out what was going on.
Walk this way! Walk!
The shot that you just heard ripped through Andrew's heart and lungs. His niece, Andalina Finch, came out to see her uncle lying in his own blood. She and the rest of the family were hustled out of the house and handcuffed as police searched for the non-existent caller. Meanwhile, 911 was still on the phone with Tyler Barris, who continued to tell stories of the supposed hostage situation. Andrew Finch died 17 minutes after being shot. He was the father of 2 young children. He was 28 years old. On Twitter, Tyler Barris went from gloating about seeing the swatting on the news to an immediate denial that he bore any responsibility for the death. Gaskill, the intended victim of the swatting, sent 2 messages to Swatistic after the events at West McCormick Street. The first message read, "Do you want to try again?" The second message gave another address for Barris to try swatting. Barris didn't call the police again, though if he had, the police would once again have been sent to the home of an innocent stranger. 2 hours later, Gaskill wasn't so calm. He messaged Barris telling him he needed to delete the evidence of their conversations. This was now a murder case. Barris didn't listen to Gaskill's advice, and their messages back and forth eventually became evidence in court. The very next day, Barris gave an interview with YouTube channel Drama Alert, hiding behind his Swatistic handle.
So do
I
you
did
take
agree with that.
right? Do you take any responsibility for what happened?
The argument can be made that the police would have never showed up if I didn't make the call. However, I don't believe that I'm the only guilty party involved in this whole incident, considering I was contacted and, it almost instructed to SWAT and taunted to SWAT, and I just...
Do you feel sad about it? Like, if I caused somebody to die like that, I wouldn't be able to sleep. Is there any empathy?
It's my personal belief that I didn't cause someone to die. I guess.
The inherent shittiness of this interview aside, we're back to the question we asked in the beginning. Who was responsible for the death of Andrew Finch? Casey Viner threatened to have Gaskill swatted, an action that had already proven to have violent consequences. He followed through on that threat by hiring a known swatter, offering money in exchange for the service. Shane Gaskill deliberately taunted Viner and gave him an address to an old house. An address that he knew was real and occupied. He later repeated the false information. After the swatting turned fatal, Gaskill mocked his swatter and challenged him to try again. Tyler Barris deliberately lured police to the home of a private citizen, giving them information that led the cops to expect an armed, violent, and mentally ill man on the other side of Andrew Finch's front door. And Officer Justin Rapp pulled the trigger on an unarmed man. Although police were not immediately able to explain why shots were fired, a public statement came out 2 days later saying that Andrew seemed to be reaching for his waistband and that Rapp reacted out of self-defense. This convenient explanation prevented Rapp from being charged for the death. It also lays the blame for Andrew Finch's death with Andrew Finch himself, the implication being that Finch should have never moved his hands while confused, surprised, and disoriented on his own front porch. It took a year for the dust to settle on the court cases. In the end, Officer Justin Rapp was never charged in the matter of Andrew Finch's death, though a civil suit filed against him by Andrew's family is still ongoing. Casey Viner, who hired Barris to carry out the swatting and later tried to delete the evidence, was given 15 months imprisonment for conspiracy and obstruction of justice. Shane Gaskill, who taunted Barris and gave him a fake address, was charged as a co-conspirator. He was given 2 years probation and no jail time. Tyler Barris was charged with involuntary manslaughter. However, over the process of his trial, his attorneys arranged a plea deal. Barris was eventually sentenced to 20 years in prison for the variety of swattings and bomb threats that he carried out across the country. In exchange, the manslaughter charge was dropped. That means in the end, neither Tyler Barris nor anyone else was ever directly charged with the death of Andrew Finch. In 2019, Andrew's niece Adelina died by suicide. Her family said that she had never recovered from the trauma of stepping over her uncle's body. Now remember that wager that was lost in Call of Duty? The wager that set this whole thing in motion and caused the deaths of 2 innocent people. Well, that wager was for $1.50. 2 human lives were the same price as a pack of paper cups. We told you it was stupid. Thanks for watching Beyond Crime. Who do you think is most responsible for the death of Andrew Finch? Leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support more true crime content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.